In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to create basic lines inside of Inventor and the basic ways to move around and get things started. So to begin with, you're going to have two options in Inventor to create something. You have to create a sketch. Now there are two types of sketching inside of Inventor. One is called a 2D sketch and the other is a 3D sketch. For our purposes, as we're beginning, we're only going to stick with a 2D sketch. To do this, you're going to start on the top left-hand side. And almost always in Inventor, you start off on the top left and you finish on the top right. And you'll see that as we go through here. So as we go through here, you'll see that there are two different buttons if I kind of hover over them. If I click on the bottom button, it gives me the option of a 2D sketch or a 3D sketch. If I just want the 2D sketch, I'll click on the top button. When I click on that, I'm going to get a few axes that pop up. I'll have my XY plane, I'll have my YZ plane, and then I'll also have my XZ plane. Those all correspond to front, right, and top views. They all line up with each other. So when we begin and start learning Inventor here, we're always going to choose our XY plane. The reason for that is we want to work on our front view. It's the most detailed view. It should give us our widest width and our tallest height, and it just kind of allows us to set things up a little bit more properly. So we're going to go to the outside corner where we can see XY and we'll click on it. Things will rotate at that point, and now we're into a 2D sketch where it's not three-dimensional, it's 2D. We have our Y plane going up and down, and our X plane going left to right. If you look down at the bottom corner here, you can see Y and X. Z is no longer visible because we're not dealing with that axis. Also, if you take a look here on the left-hand side, this is called your model browser or just your browser. Basically, this gives you a whole history of all the things that you've done inside of Inventor and allows you to kind of see what you did in what order, and you can go back and edit things as well. Additionally, you'll see that we are now in the sketch menu and our ribbon up here has changed. We have a whole bunch of different tools and constraints and different things that we can add onto our drawing in order to control exactly what we're doing. So now that we know where our tools are at, we're going to go ahead and choose the line tool. And just like all of our other tools, there's kind of two buttons here. If I go to the drop down, I have a number of different types of lines, just like I do with circle and arc and rectangle and so on and so forth. But if I want to choose just the main tool, which is usually what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on the top of that button, or I can hit the letter L. Now, when we're creating lines, there's a couple of rules we need to know and a couple of rules that we need to make sure we follow, especially as we're learning Inventor. The first rule is to make sure you start and end at your origin. So I'm going to go to my origin. You'll notice when I go there, I'll be able to click right on that spot and it'll be at 0, 0. I'm not clicking, holding, and dragging. I'm clicking once to set the start point, and then I'm going to click a second time to set the end point of that line. If I've done it correctly, it'll allow me to create another line from there. At this point, we're going to make sure we follow rule 2, which is to make sure that you go through and you do not cross lines. So I'm just going to start adding a whole bunch of lines here, but none of the lines are going to cross each other. The lines do not like to be angry. From there, once I've done that, I want to make sure I end back up my origin. And this is the third rule, to make sure you have what's called a closed loop. If you click on it and no line tool now pops up, that means you've done it correctly. If you still have a line tool available to you, that means there's actually a really small little gap inside of there that you need to make sure you fill in. If you have what's called an open loop, it basically means that the shape is not closed and therefore cannot be a solid shape. So you need to make sure everything is closed. If it is, like mine is, then you're in good shape. If it's not, I'll show you how to edit it in just a moment. But once you're done, you're going to go ahead and either hit escape to exit out of your line tool, or you can go up and choose your line tool here. But in Inventor, if you just hit escape, it's going to almost always exit you out of what you selected and get you back into a neutral state. You'll notice now that I've done that, my line or my mouse pointer is back to where it should be. Now, if I need to edit anything, I can grab a line, click, hold, and drag, and I can move it to where I want it to be. I can do the exact same thing with corners. So with nothing else selected, I can go ahead, click on my corner, click, hold, and drag, and move it to where I want it to be. You have a lot of options when it comes to Inventor as far as being able to change things, manipulate things, and we'll show you how to fix mistakes here in our next video. But for right now, once you're done and you're happy with your shape, like I think this is a beautiful shape, I'm going to click on Finish Sketch. So as I said, you're going to start off on your top left and end on your top right. So I'll finish sketch. It's going to go ahead, and depending on what you've done, it may turn it into a 3D view. It may zoom in. If it zooms in too much, just go ahead and click on that top corner in your view cube, or you can double click your mouse wheel. That will bring it into view as well. Once you've done that, you're going to go to extrude. Extrude's basically going to take a two-dimensional shape and stretch it out to be 3D. So I'm going to click on extrude, and now it's gone ahead and made it be able to be 3D. I can change the distance right here, or I can grab this arrow and drag it to be bigger or smaller. If you see this gray shape though, that means you've done it correctly. If you see a red or orange shape, that means you do not have a closed loop and you have to go back and fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now I have a three-dimensional shape. If I press and hold Shift and press and hold my mouse wheel in, I can move my shape around and see it in 3 dimensions. I can also do the same thing by grabbing my view cube and dragging it around, or I can go to my orbit tool and rotate it that way. Any one of these works, and to get out of them, you always hit escape. Hopefully that helps you with being able to create your first part inside of Inventor.